UK Learning was pleased to welcome Stephen Harris to its third conference at the Royal Institute of British Architects in London. Stephen's talk and the related workshops focused on empowering students, teachers and all design professionals to work collaboratively to develop an agenda for future learning. In the introduction to his talk, Stephen stressed the need to move away from the history of isolation and separation of the management and organisation of learning to a more collaborative approach to meet future learning needs. In the second section, he outlines his vision for future learning and the importance of developing the key skills and competencies in both students and teachers for learning and living in a fast-changing world. It was critical in his view to move away from the concept of the single-cell box as the predominant model for delivering education to students. In the last section, Stephen illustrates how he has taken his fundamental principles and beliefs around empowerment and collaborative change and translated them into the evolving design, remodelling and organisation of Northern Beaches School in Sydney.
Okay, so for me now, I've actually been in schools continuously for 35 years since actually truanting from schools. In 2005, I founded a thing called Skill, and I'll mention that in a little bit further. And our school in Sydney, when I took it over in 1999, had about 250 students. We had 20 really horrible demountables and 3 blocks of veranda and single-cell classroom type construction. Now, I'm confessing that in the next probably 3 months, two of those 3 blocks are about to get bulldozed down finally. I do actually have a very good solution for the schools that you can't repurpose, and that is, in an ageing population, the average classroom has probably got very good wheelchair access, and it's about the right size for a lounge room, dining room, kitchen and bedroom for a retirement village. So that, again, if we're talking about creative thinking in our communities, it may just be that schools take over the large spaces that are far more interesting, and we do actually seriously consider repurposing some of the schools in that way. There is a website, stephenharris.me, where a lot of my presentations go up onto, and again, this one will most likely finish up most of it in that format, in a format on that site at some stage in the next couple of days. We're asked to talk about looking at developing and delivering an agenda for future learning and empowering students, teachers and all professionals to work collaboratively. So I guess part of my talk is to highlight how that has happened for us and how important that is as well. I wasn't going to include this slide, but I was encouraged to. I do include it in non-UK settings. I did lift that completely off the web, just 2 images, one from the government website on government schools and one from a government website on government prisons. I mean, they do look remarkably similar, and then they also look remarkably similar in internal design. And again, when you think about the, you know, for all the money that was spent on the BSF, and I've seen some amazing buildings built under the BSF program in the last 10 years, is that in many cases, the management of those buildings is all about silent separation and surveillance, and that's not too different from the prison system. So there are some fundamental issues there. Also, when you can go onto the web and find out figures like that, again, it's an interesting one when you consider where our dollars are spent. Okay, so I'll get that one there over.